and just in my comments in general on social. So I'm going to just do a quick Q&A episode answering your guys' questions. So, and like I said, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll be continuing to answer them as we go along. But the first thing is first. Hey, Tiffany. A lot of you guys have been asking what planner have I been using this year. And this is my second time using this planner. I used it Q4 of last year and I absolutely loved it and signed up for their subscription. But I have been using the Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt. I've been loving this planner so much. It's really cool that basically it's a 90-day planner. You use it for a 90-day time frame, then you got to buy another one. He's a business owner. He was smart about that from a revenue business model perspective. But the reason why I love this planner is really because I think it's really designed with the business owner in mind. So the first thing, there's an annual goals sheet at the very beginning where you can write down just what your goals are for the year. And then there's these goal detail pages that based off the goals that you write down for annual, then you're able to kind of break those goals down a lot more specifically into like the goal summary, next steps, reward tracking and things like that. So it gives you a lot of space to break your goals down in like great detail. And then it has this monthly calendar view where you can map out the next quarter of calendar dates. And then it has a rolling quarter view where you're able to look at the full year in like rolling quarters so you can just see like important dates. And then it has a spot for you to kind of detail out what your daily rituals are, like morning ritual, workday startup ritual, workday shutdown ritual, and evening ritual. So it kind of looks like this. And then it has an ideal work week where you can kind of just map out what your ideal week will look like. Like, I just really think this planner was designed for a business owner. So I just really love it. And then they have, basically daily sheets. I'm trying to pull up one that's empty. That looks like this. That allows you to like plan out your day. It allows you to identify what your big 3 priorities are, other tasks, kind of a daily schedule, and then a whole page for just like notes. So it's just a really well thought out planner with daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly like goal planning, itinerary type of stuff in it. I will say this planner, I would say is more on like the elevated price point. I think it's like maybe $40, $30 or $40 to buy this depending on what color or edition that you get. But I loved it so much last year. I used it Q4 of 2019. I decided to sign up for the yearly subscription. So every quarter they'll send me a new planner about 2 or 3 weeks before the next quarter starts. So I know a lot of you guys have been asking me about this. I've been kind of, if you follow me on Instagram, you guys know on my Instagram stories, I do a lot of behind the scenes. And I've been sharing this a lot in my stories. And you guys keep sliding in my DMs like, sis, where's the planner? So you can go on Michael Hyatt's website. Michael Hyatt, it's called the Full Focus Planner. Just Google Full Focus Planner or Google Michael Hyatt Planner and you'll be able to buy it from his website. So yeah, this is not an affiliate link. I'm not whatever. This is just a planner I've been really loving, okay? So I use this every day. I bought it for my team member to see if she liked it. I actually need to check in with her. Jessica, if you're watching this, if you like the planner, let me know. But I really do enjoy this planner a lot. So I use it every single day. On Sundays, I try to, it gives you an opportunity to kind of reflect on the previous week and set some intentions for the week ahead. So it's just, I like this bad boy. So that was the first question. I've been getting a lot of questions around is what planner am I using? What planner am I loving? The second question I got was over on Instagram. This is from Gotcha Social. And she is a client of ours. She asked a question about the Profit First method. So if you guys have never heard of the Profit First method, it is a book, more of a philosophy approach to how to build a business that is profitable from the very beginning and just how to make sure that your business is profitable. So it's by Mike Michalowicz. I really love him. I think if you're making less than $250,000 a year, the Profit First method is a really smart method to implement in your business. Once you start making more than 200, 300K a year, it's a good time to talk to your accountant to determine if a different money management process will make sense for your business at that time frame. But if you're making less than $250,000 a year, I highly, highly, highly recommend Profit First. But she asked the question, do you create 5 separate bank accounts? The answer is yes. The Profit First method is really all about having all of your money basically come into one bank account every time you would collect new payment, and then you creating multiple bank accounts where you would distribute that money based off of an allocated percentage to kind of help you manage your money. So it's kind of similar to like the envelope method. If you guys have ever heard of that budgeting technique where they recommend you allocate all of your money into different envelopes for different things. It's kind of that same approach, but with bank accounts. So I think I have like 7 bank accounts. I have one primary checking account, which is where all of my money comes into, but then I have multiple savings accounts where I have my expense account, my tax account, my owner's compensation, which is a completely different bank account than where my business account is. And then and then I have a profit account where all of, allocated percentage of my revenue goes into that account. So the reason why I love Profit First is I've been using this method since I started my business. My business has been profitable since the very, very beginning. I have always paid myself a salary or paid myself owner's compensation. And I think it's so interesting where I see business owners who are making $15,000 a year, $30,000 a year, $120,000 a year, $200,000 a year who have never paid themselves before. They have this mindset or this belief that every dollar that comes into your business, you have to reinvest in the business. And I'm not sure about you, but if you feel like you're working super hard in your business, but you're never actually paying yourself, there is something wrong with how you're managing your business revenue. So when your business revenue isn't that high, right? Like if you're only making $10,000 a year or $20,000 a year in your business, you should not be taking every penny of that home. So I'm not saying that, instead of reinvesting it in, that you pull everything out, but you need to learn. I think this is really, really important. This is something we like to teach our CEOs in any program that you enroll with me in, services that sell or leverage. We want to make sure that you are starting to understand proper habits that you need to have as a CEO, and also starting to look at your business as a business and not like a hobby that you do when you want to do, that you take money from when you want to take money from, because that's not what your business is. If at any corporation, just like when you go to your 9-to-5 job, that CEO doesn't take home every penny that the company makes. The business's revenue is separate from the CEO's salary, right? And I think you have to start looking at yourself when you're the CEO or the founder of a company, you also are the employee of that company, right? And you need to start treating yourself like that. So just because the business is making, $300,000 a year does not mean that you as a CEO are taking home $300,000 a year in revenue and in salary. That is not how it works. So this is something that, we really like to at least introduce to our services that sell students. And if you're inside of Leverage, something we'll be talking about very much in depth, because as you start making over 100K, crossing into that multi-6-figure mark, these are things that you have to start separating yourself from, habits you need to start putting in place, and just really a different way that you need to start looking at how you manage the revenue and the money from your business. I just completely over answered the question that was asked, but I thought this was that helpful for me to go into that level of detail about business money management. If so, just throw some hearts up on the screen or share this video if that extra in-depth insight was beneficial for you. So yeah, I know that answered the question and some. Next question, you guys have been asking me about my eyebrows. This is completely not business related, but partially is business related. So a lot of you guys have been asking me about my eyebrows. I keep rubbing them right now on video because I want you to see that they do not come off. Okay? I'm pulling my skin right now. And in 2019, it was on my vision board to get my eyebrows permanently done. So there's a couple different techniques that you can get at the salon. Most people have probably heard of microblading, but the microblading technique is a bit more invasive than the technique that I got. When you do microblading, they're literally puncturing holes into your skin and implanting hair. And then probably about every year or two, you have to go get it redone. So it's just a lot of, I don't want to say damage, but it's just a lot of, I will say like skin damage that you're actually doing to your eyebrows over an extended period of time. So instead of getting microblading, I got something they call it ombre. And it's basically like a semi-permanent tattoo. And ombreing I really like because it gives you that ombre effect. Like, when you guys are doing your eyebrows and doing your makeup and you want it to be like a little bit lighter in the front and then get really dark and sharp towards the end. That's really the look that I love. So that was on my vision board last year because it is an investment. Like if you get your ombre or microblading done, you should expect to spend somewhere between like $500 and $800. But again, it's a semi-permanent thing. So I got mine done last year and I have not gone in for a touch-up. And I don't think, and it really just depends on how your skin holds the ink and responds to the treatment. But I don't think I'm going to have to go in for like a touch-up for at least another year. So that's like 2 years. I never have to go get, I just wake up like this, right? You still have to get your eyebrows waxed because like your hair will still grow in. But a lot of you guys have been asking me about my eyebrows. So that is what they are. They are on fleek and look amazing because I paid for them to do that. Okay. Okay. Hashtag new money lifestyle. We don't do our eyebrows anymore. Probably one of my favorite things because I just love eyebrows. I think it can just really frame a face. It can just give you that like voo without you having to do anything. So yes, that was the third question. If you guys are just jumping in or tuning in, hey, this is the Q&A episode. So if there's any questions that you want me to give you an answer to, just type them in the comments. I have, I think, 1 or 2 more questions from you guys over on Instagram that I will answer. So this is from Erica. She said, what is your process of initially outlining your program, how you want your program to look? So this is something that we cover in module 1 of Services That Sell. And if you're inside of Leverage, we call this the result recipe. This is module 1, lesson 2, I believe, in Leverage. And when I'm outlining a new program curriculum or new program content, before you even start creating the outline, I'm a really big believer and you need to get crystal clear on what is the promise, what is the end result. How is your client's life going to look different after they get done working with you? And you need to get it's really all about reverse engineering. I reverse engineer my content. I do not start off by what do I want to teach. I start off with what end result do I want the student to accomplish. So the way that I look at curriculum and program content that I think is uniquely different from a lot of other coaches and course creators online is I have an engineering background. And if you guys are a student of mine or if you've taken any of my programs, you probably can very much attest to the fact that all of my curriculum is designed like a machine. If you are, I look at my curriculum like an assembly line. I want a client, there's an input into a machine, then it goes through a process, and then there's always a consistent output result, right? Like if you go to a factory, a car factory, for example, when the materials go in, it goes through a series of a process, and at the end is a consistent finished product. So that's how I like to design my curriculum. But in order for you to design your curriculum to have that type of framework and to be that type of model, you need to get clear on what is the output, what is the end result that I want. If you're, my fiance texted me earlier today saying, do I want some Girl Scout cookies? But if you want to get the same Girl Scout cookie where it is repeatable and it's the same quality of, cookie every single time you produce it, you need to get clear on what is that result. So that's the first thing I do when I'm outlining program content is getting crystal clear on what is the promise, what is the end result, what does success look like. And this is where I think a lot of people miss the mark is they don't get result focused in the sense of external tangibility. What is the external I know? How will you know if the result has been achieved or not? This cannot or should not be a feeling. It should not be subjective. where every person will describe the definition of success differently. So that's the first thing I do when I'm outlining program content, is like, what is the consistent, measurable end result that I want somebody to achieve once they finish this. And then once I know the end result, then that's when I reverse engineer and say, okay, what are the steps of this process that somebody needs to implement in order to get that result? And kind of the way I look at it is like a recipe. You know, if you're trying to cook a meal for dinner, you don't just go in the kitchen and just grab a bunch of random ingredients. You need to, one, have an ingredients list. So when you enroll a new client, you can properly and communicate expectations to say, these are all the things that you're going to need to be successful to make this recipe and for the dish to come out to be good and to come out the way that, you know, it's designed to come out. So there needs to be an ingredients list, meaning like, this is rarely where we teach our clients on like qualifying your lead. Who is this recipe designed for? Who is this not for? What tools, like where do they need to be at? What do they need to already be bringing to the table in order for them to be able to implement this and get the result that you're promising? And then, so you need to have an ingredients list. And then what is the recipe? Like literally, what is the step-by-step process that somebody would need to go through in order to accomplish that result? And we reverse engineer it. So we start with the promise, we build the process, and then we create a, we set the expectation. So that's really how we design our program curriculum, but it's always designed like so many of my clients have taken services that sell, and every time they pivot their offer or introduce a new offer in their business, they're able to just go back and reuse the framework that's inside of services that sell. And I think that is a testament to like the quality of the curriculum and the quality of the framework that we have developed, is that people are able to use it again and again and again, and it still produces the same result. Like that to me is perfection. Like that to me is what, you know, I like. That to me is like high caliber, high quality, premium content. It's something that can be repeated, that can be duplicated, and it still produces consistent results every single time that you put it in play. So that's kind of how I look at program content, program curriculum. And this is kind of like a little insider secret that I'll tell you, is you need to look at every workbook that you create as a potential obstacle for your client to get the result that you promised. And this is really where I'm always telling people that a lot of times people think that if you want to charge premium or if you want to raise your rates, you have to give more in your curriculum or in your content. And that is probably one of the biggest myths or misconceptions. Honestly, if you're charging premium, especially if you are charging premium or especially if you want to raise your rates, it's not about giving your client more content. The biggest benefit that you can do for them is how do you actually simplify and make it easier, faster, smoother for them to get the result that you're promising them. Not by giving them more content, but how do you streamline your content and make it so efficient that there is zero fluff in any activity, any growth assignment, any learning or training lesson that you give them. All the fluff has been removed. All obstacles have been removed. All content that is like, really, you need to be able to decipher between what content is nice to have, what content is need to have to get the result. And this is really where we go super, super in depth in this in my leverage group coaching program. Because as you start, when you're working one-on-one, it does not need to be that perfect. Because when you're working one-on-one with clients, the beauty that I love and I recommend that when you start introducing high ticket offers, I always recommend testing out that offer on clients in a one-on-one capacity, because it allows you to kind of co-create your curriculum as you're learning how to teach it to somebody else. Because when you when you choose to leverage your curriculum and decide to teach your content in a group format, whether that's group coaching or a mastermind or a live event, but where you're teaching your content to a group, then you have to learn how to become a better teacher. It's not just about being able to be a good consultant, but you have to learn how to become a better teacher and to learn how to actually coach other people through your curriculum. And this is really where that, creating more frameworks, really perfecting your model, like learning how to automate and like communicate your content in a way where other people can understand it, almost like an instruction manual, where if they follow the instructions, they get the result without you having to necessarily hold their hand and customize it every step of the way for them. So it's kind of a layered approach. It's really like more of like a do it once, refine, repackage, relaunch, refine, repackage, relaunch, refine. It's a really more of a process of continuous improvement. But that's really how I look at outlining curriculum content and what I think about and kind of the thought process I go through when I'm designing new program content. Great question. This question is from Krista Ann. Hey, Krista Ann. She said, what do you do for self-care? Also, as a business owner, do you set aside time for yourself? Girl, yes, yes, and yes. So self-care for me is really all about embodying, like honoring my boundaries. Anytime I enforce a boundary, that is me exercising self-care. Anytime I think that exercising boundaries, enforcing boundaries and like honoring what my body is asking for, like responding to what I actually need, those to me are two different forms of self-care that I'm learning how to practice on a daily basis. Discipline to me is a form of self-care. Me operating in a space of self-integrity is a form of self-care for me. So when I think about self-care, I don't just think about like spa and like getting my nails done. I think about like self-care and I think a more holistic approach. So things that I do for self-care are those things that I just mentioned. Like when I tell myself or make a commitment that I'm going to do something, actually following through and doing what I say I'm going to do is probably one of the biggest things that I do for self-care. Because what I've noticed before, I used to always say I was going to do things and then didn't follow through, right? How many times have you said, I'm going to launch my business this year, and then you never actually, do a live stream, or you never actually enroll a client. You never actually charge for your service. You never actually decide to raise your rates. Like you keep running a business, but you're never actually making money. Like how many times have you told yourself you were going to do something, that this is going to be the year by any means necessary? I'll do whatever is required to get the result. And then you don't uphold to the thing that you said that you're going to do. I think that's one of the most damaging things that you can do to yourself, from your self-confidence level, from, just you trusting yourself. Like it is I think probably one of the biggest forms of self-destruction. So for me, what do I do for self-care is like doing my best to operate within self-integrity and actually doing what I say I'm going to do. When I make commitments, when I say enforcing my boundaries, I try my best not to say I'm going to do something if I'm not 100% committed to following through on it, no matter what it is, whether it's business related, whether it's, with my friends, whether it's with my partner, whatever it is. So that to me is probably one of the biggest things that I do for self-care, is doing what I say I'm going to do and being truthful, like only committing to things and saying yes. Like how many times, I know ladies, this is y'all. This is one of my very good girlfriends. Yeah, I'm going to come out. Yeah, I'm going to come over. Yeah, I'm going to meet you at the coffee shop. Yeah, girl, I'm coming with you on Friday. And then you don't say nothing. You don't respond to the text. You be ghosting, or you're always backing out of a commitment after you've said yes to it. That is, I just think, one of the biggest forms of like self-destruction that you can do. So that one is one. Something else I'm doing in this season is like learning how to practice being present as a form of self-care. So things I've been doing to practice being present, I've been going to yoga more consistently because it gives me an opportunity to just be still and to really like honor my body, like respect what my body's asking for. And then I also just recently, I've done this once before, but I just started going back to the floating pods, where it's like a pot of water that's like filled with like tons of Epsom salt, and you just float. And it's been a really cool way for me to learn how to practice being present and to like literally turn my brain off. So those are two like more tactical things that I've done for self-care. And then you said, Krista Ann, as a business owner, how do you set aside time for yourself? You just do it. I think there's two different ways that I set aside time for myself. One is actually in my business, Because one thing you guys probably are in a similar boat as me. When you're building your business, you're working in the business and you also have to make time to work on the business. So like, at certain phases of your business, you're doing everything. Like you're doing everything an employee or contractors would do. You're coming up with live stream content topics. You're doing your live stream videos. You're responding to direct messages. You're engaging in the comments. You're responding to emails. You're editing podcast episodes. Like you're sending out contracts to your clients. You're processing payment. You're handling failed payments. So you're doing everything in the business, but you have to make sure that you're also making time for yourself within your business to work on your business. And a lot of that is just giving yourself space to be strategic, to like make decisions, to think about the vision of where you want to take the business. So every Monday, I make sure that I have no appointments on my calendar. My Mondays are me days. My Mondays are like CEO days, days that I get to work on the business. And then another way that I help make time for myself is I do not schedule meetings in the mornings during the week now. So Mondays are no appointments. Fridays are typically no appointments. So Mondays are my CEO day, where that's time for me to work on my business. Fridays are typically kind of like a catch-all day where I just follow up on like anything that I need to get done that didn't get done that week. And then I've just recently started testing this out in my schedule this year, is I don't schedule any meetings in my mornings, because my mornings is time for me to work in the business, for me to like create, to do whatever tactical things that I need to do. And the afternoons are more for me to like respond or react to what my team might need, podcast interviews, that type of thing. So like working, I think your question, Krista Ann, is twofold. Is you have to find what works for you based off the season of business that you're in. Because like the rhythm that I have now looked different for me just 6 months ago. So I think it's really important to like figure out when are you most productive? What is your capacity? Like when do you actually have time to work, and like when do you need to get what done, and figure out a rhythm that works for you, and try it out. And then secondly, how do I set time aside for myself is, I think once you're full-time in your business, I think sometimes we can blur the lines of when we need to be working and when we need to turn off. When I was working my 9 to 5, it was like, go to your 9 to 5. And then when you come home, you work on your business. And then weekends were like also working on my business. So every moment I was working, whether it was for somebody else or to build my own business. But when you go full-time in your business, especially if you've been full-time for a few years, you have to start learning the habit of like recreating work hours, so you actually have time to turn your business off and be present at home, or just to like give yourself space to, like watch Netflix or like walk the dog or like have dinner with your kids and family. So I just think it's, Krista Ann, if you're asking the question, how do you do it? Part of me might be saying, what's the question behind the question that you're asking? And I think the first thing that I really recommend you to do is actually prioritize where your time needs to be spent. Identify what things you need to be saying no to, like what things are distractions. And once you start to prioritize like what matters most, that will then from there try to create, start to formulate these schedules that make sense for you to achieve those objectives, keeping in mind, like, I don't want to say balance, but like the integration that needs to happen between your personal time, like personal time, your you time to work on the business as a CEO, and your you time to work in the business as an employee. Great question. Let me see if there's any other questions, guys. Has this been helpful? You guys are like super quiet tonight. There's a ton of people who are on both Instagram and Facebook, but you guys are normally way more vocal. But has this been helpful? Just doing a quick check-in. What about this Q&A so far has been insightful, taught you something new, inspired you to something different, shifted your perspective on something? Just pop in the comments and let me know, or just throw some hearts up on the screen. I see another question from Lex Creative Studios. She said, how do you balance the time between client work and marketing to find new clients? That's a really good question. Lex Creative Studios, I think, Can I ask a follow-up question? Are you like at capacity or booked out with clients right now? Let me know, what is your current like capacity looking like? Are you like close to being booked out with clients or booked out with clients, or do you not have that many clients right now? Because my answer will depend on what your client workload looks like. If you are not booked out with clients, you need to be focusing on how do you make money. Like that is the number one focus. Is first thing you have to do is it's money, manage, and then multiply. That is really like the simplest framework I can give you when it comes to managing your time, managing your energy, making priorities and decisions. Is money is the number one objective. Until you can prove that you can consistently convert clients and deliver the result that you promised when they enrolled, the only thing that you should be paying attention to is that. Not your website, not your branding, not getting cute photos taken, not like literally anything else. The number one focal point that you should have is on how do I sell a service? All you should care about is sales in the very, very beginning. All you should care about is sales. So all of your time should be going towards money generating activities, right? Money generating activities. And when I say money generating activities, I mean, how are you making sales as a contact sport? Sales should be the number one focus in the beginning. Sales is a contact sport. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's how often are you making contact with prospects? And I don't just mean posting, Benjamin Franklin quotes on your Instagram newsfeed. I mean like creating high value content that is thought provoking, that shares your perspective, that is polarizing. How often are you creating live stream videos? How often are you engaging in conversation with prospects in your direct message? How often those are two things. And how often are you booking sales calls? That's it. Those three things are like the only things that matter in the beginning, is getting your money. Once you can nail down how to do that relatively consistently, then you need to start worrying about managing. How do you manage that money that you have just brought in, managing your cash flow? And then also, how do you now manage your time between serving your clients and also being able to still work on the business and grow the business? But, so that's the very first, I know you're saying now that you're not booked out, that really it's about making that contact. Again, that's I think this is something that most people who enroll in services that sell, or by the time somebody hires me, they've typically hired 2 or 3 other coaches before me. And the thing is that I've noticed, and I see it over and over and over again, is people buy branding, invest in branding and invest in marketing before they invest in sales. And most of my clients have hired somebody to help them with branding, help them with their messaging, help them with their marketing, or trying to set up Facebook ad funnels, or growing an email list when they have not learned the art of sales. And I think this is why we notice a pattern in our client roster, is that most people hire 2 or 3 other people before they come to us, is because they think those other things matter. They think those other things are where they need to be focusing their attention in the beginning. And if you're making less than $5,000 a month consistently, I am telling you right now, save yourself the $3,000 to $6,000 that you'll invest with other coaches and learn how to sell. You need to get really, really good and sophisticated and savvy with your sales, how to overcome objections, how to articulate the value of what it is that you deliver, how to actually get paid what you need to be getting, what you need to be charging for the value that you're helping your clients achieve, not based off of what you're worth or what you feel like, but based off the results that you can produce. And that is the number one thing you need to be focused on, is money, then manage, and then multiply. So once you can get that money part down, where you are confident with your sales, where you are able to actually get somebody to say yes to you at the price point that is reflective of your value, that is all sales, guys. And even, I always teach the lean launch process. I still use the lean launch process in my business to this day. Is all about how do you understand sales psychology? So when you're creating content, right? When you're making live stream videos or creating content for social, your content now is aligned with consumer buyer psychology. And again, this is all sales. right? If you are hiring somebody to help you with your messaging, but you do not know the art of sales, that messaging is not going to properly communicate, right? It is not going to properly communicate the value of what you deliver in a way that aligns with how whether or not they choose to hire you versus choosing to hire somebody else. So I can go on that all day, all day. But that's just, we notice that with our clients, they always, a lot of the time they hire multiple people before they hire us. And a lot of the time they've, no shade on Marie Forleo or B School or like other programs that are out there. They try to go build a course first. They try to go through B School first. They sign up for these other things, but they have not learned how to sell. And it is devastating when a business owner comes to me and it's like, hey, Jay, I've been building my business for 3 years, but I'm still not making consistent money, or I haven't made any money. And it's the most devastating thing to hear, because it's like, it can be defeating if you're that business owner and 3 years has passed, 2 years have passed, and you still do not feel confident about the number one thing your business is supposed to do. Create opportunities for transactions to take place, actually receive revenue, actually be profitable. So that's the first thing I would tell you to do is, like, when it comes to managing your client workload versus your going after new clients, don't worry about solving that problem until you first solve the first problem of, like, how do I get consistent revenue coming in the door? First and foremost. And once you can get to a point where you have maybe been getting consistent clients coming in, and you really start to experience a capacity limit where, okay, I can't take on any more one-on-one clients. Like, if I want to make more money, the only way for me to make more money is to take on more clients, and I don't have any more time to give to take on more clients to make more money. That's when you need to leverage. That's when you need to leverage how you serve your clients, how you deliver your content, how you actually, it's really about you. That's when your business model shifts. Because you have to learn how to, you've been one-on-one, you're getting maybe not fully booked out, but you're noticing a capacity limit about to get approached, where again, you can't make more money unless you take on more clients, but you don't really have that much more time to take on more clients to make more money. When that becomes a struggle, that's when you need to leverage. And when I say leverage, it's now you've gone from one-on-one work. How do you now repackage what you've already done successfully in one-on-one into a leveraged offer and still be able to charge premium for it? So that's really that management piece. After you've made money, then we start to worry about how do we now manage your time and better manage your cash flow, better manage the predictability of your profit margin. Hear what I said there. That is super, super important as you grow. So many times people grow and make more money, but end up taking home less. And it's like, we don't want to do that. And then once you can set up a system or like leverage how you serve your clients with a leveraged offer, then we start to worry about how do we now multiply this impact. So that is what I would really recommend there for that. That was a fantastic question. Can we give her that was a good question. I'm seeing a lot of positive response to that. That was so good. This sales talk is so good. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most important things, guys. And I think it's something that a lot of people try to avoid, right? Latasha Marie said, I skipped that part. I don't want to deal with people one-on-one. I'm not jumping straight to blogging and product. But a lot of people, and one thing, Latasha, with one-on-one, I'm a huge believer in when you want to, this is very, very true if you want to sell premium. So it's a very different business model, a different strategic approach that you'll take if you're trying to sell low ticket offers, digital products, where you're trying to convert clients. You're playing a volume game. You're selling a low ticket offer, but you have to sell a high volume of it for it to make sense financially for you. The strategy or the approach that I'm speaking to is very much for the individual who wants to create a high ticket experience, who wants to really help a client get the full transformation of what their skills have to offer, and they want to get paid premium for it. And I'm a huge believer in, I know you say you don't want to deal with people one-on-one, but I think there's a time and a season where it makes sense. And it's not to say that you stay at one-on-one forever, but the reason why I like starting with one-on-one, especially when you go premium price point, is because I am not a fan of creating stuff and not getting paid for it. How many of you guys have courses, curriculum in your Google Drive that you have spent hours creating and nobody's ever actually paid you for it. Jayhawk is not a fan of that. No. I do not like to create anything until I've been paid for it, because until somebody pays me, like me getting a form of payment for a result or a promise that I can deliver, that is what true validation is. Until somebody pays me for it, I don't really know if the market wants it. Just because I want to create it, or I can do it, or I like doing it, doesn't mean that it's a good business model, that it's a good business opportunity, that the market will actually want it. So I'm a really huge fan of working one-on-one with clients in the beginning, because it gives you the flexibility to still fine tune your process, to really like define what your curriculum is going to be, to get paid while you're co-creating it with a client to a certain degree, right? Because I think a lot of the time when you're a consultant, or you have a business where you do a service for somebody else, where it's more done for you, it's a very different approach that you have to take when you start to try to distribute that and get consistent results when you're teaching it or coaching somebody else through it. And a lot of the time you may know what needs to happen or what to do, but you haven't yet learned how to be a good teacher to educate somebody else on how they can get the results following